Yeah, cool. We got a mic. Okay. What I might do, let's see. Okay, I think what I'm gonna. I think it was T. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the other mic and I'm going to put it near the shifter. Hopefully with this magnetic. So that'll give a bit of a stereo effect. And it seems to be holding its place there on its own magnet. That'll give a bit of a stereo effect for what the mic's doing. We're going to start off with the GT Neo on Simagic Alpha wheelbase, so let's pair that up. Okay, I've got a profile already. There are no assists, by the way. I had Steve from the building the hardest rubbish rig asked me about assists. No, I don't run any assists. I want the most unfiltered raw experience possible. If I jump out of this server, I'll probably lose this car, to be honest, even though this is not an exactly highly sought after car. It's not the fastest car on the server. The GT, it doesn't go quite as quick as the GT3s and the RSR, for example, but it'll still get nabbed up if I don't, you know what I might. Now I'll leave my setup. I'm probably not going to be the fastest guy on the server, but I should get a decent time, hopefully. Cool. So yeah, no assists, no like. I wonder if I can show you. I don't believe I can bring up Content Manager. Yeah, it doesn't allow you to see it. But there is actually a section I'll show you after this lap or two that I'm not using assists. I'll show you my pedal and bass settings quickly. So we're running just the full 15 newton meters and 100%. So everything that the wheelbase can provide, and you can see my filtering and friction settings, smoothness here, force feedback detail, and frequency are all set according to, trying to achieve a balance between good detail and smoothness, minimal robotic feeling. This is actually the hardest sim to get a really good feeling on the Simagic Alpha. Like, the detail is really, really high. But on AMS2 and ACC, I don't actually really, and AC either, but I don't really like the force feedback on them on Ultimate, to be honest. I probably need to spend more time with it, it just vibrates the whole way, and it's a rubbery, like nice rubber mallet feeling vibration, but it's just raw vibration all the way down the road. Very uninformative, really. Whereas the force feedback that you get from AC is very informative, and all the techniques that you would apply to saving a car in real life apply here, although some may say it's a bit forgiving or whatever, but, for example, you can save a car both by countersteering or by oversteering, following the principles of making, as your rear end starts to lose grip, you can enforce an action that will cause your front end to start to lose grip, which will bring down the ratio of grip between the front tires and back tires, which is the whole reason why your arse end is spinning around in the first place. So by oversteering into it, you can actually kind of stop that swing from happening, and the car will just sort of start sliding in and correcting itself, and then you steer back out of it. you know, you can do those techniques in this. So that's the base settings, and all that is default. You know, trying to there's no setting in the Alpha to amplify the in-game signal, but you don't need it. I haven't found you need it. So that's the Alpha. Let's show you the pedals real quickly. We're running the Simsonn ProX Husing clone, ProX Ultra Husing clones. I'm pretty happy with it, really. Clutch feels good. I've got medium strength blue spring on. Comes with the weakest yellow spring out the factory. I actually felt that to be a little bit too weak, to be honest, like compared to real cars and trucks that I've driven for years. You know, so this feels more closer to the trucks that I've driven, and about on par with what I'd expect a good gutsy clutch to feel like, something like a heavy duty clutch in a good car. So I got the brakes set to max out at 63 kilos. I've had to brace up the back of the seat on this cheap rig so that I can keep that that brake feeling consistent. But yeah, if I go to about, you know, I find I can kind of consistently get to around, you know, and I can really trail off quite easily and smoothly. Sorry, excuse me. I can trail off quite easily and smoothly with this. The weird thing about this is it won't let me change this to hard. I've actually got the harder elastomers in, but it's fine because I do have two springs in with two of the hardest elastomers. But I don't like the softer or medium elastomers that much. It just gives this like squishy brake line feeling, whereas these hard ones feel good, like they really do. So I think they're 80 or 85 sure, and then you can sort of see the dead zones that I'm running just to make sure that I don't activate this. Like I can rest my foot on the throttle just ever so slightly, and then I've just got a nice linear curve all the way up, and that's me getting the 100. So 100 there, but I can go a fair bit further, as you can see, to make sure that I'm never too slow on the straights. And I've got the dead zone for this set pretty right, I'd say. Maybe not quite right for this car, but I don't care. So, all right. Let's do a lap. We've got 12 Newton meters of torque set up here, so that's 77% gain at 100% on the base, which just happens to be about the ideal amount of to ask out of a servo motor is probably about 70 to 80%. So it's really the ideal wheelbase for a car like this. Let's see how we go. Hopefully we don't get ran off the road. This is an online server, so let's see what happens. I'll give you a demo of the shift soon, don't worry. I'm just going to start off with something like this. Hopefully I don't have the volume too loud, but you know, with this volume ratio, I can hear the bass shakers and things like that, which I usually don't. And I am also losing a little bit of haptics in the seat of the pants wheel because some of my audio signal is getting sent to one of the homemade bass shakers in the seat, the subwoofer signal, and that just gives me that little bit of extra detail. Got all these other bass shakers that are hooked up to SimHub. But yeah, you should try it out if you've got the ability to run an extra bass shaker in series on your subwoofer channel. You still use your other bass shakers on SimHub. You end up with a much more, a less muddier overall mixture of effects. It's really good. And it works particularly well for cars where you're in them and you can hear that they've got a loud rumbly motor, but the engine vibration effect in SimHub doesn't really emulate that very well. Or you don't want to turn it up much like all the way because you want to make sure that there's headroom to be able to feel like wheel slip effects and things like that. And then under that as well, but between the engine vibration, you also want road bumps and stuff. So you kind of want to keep the engine vibration as the quietest effect so that you can define all these other effects and identify them. And so by adding that extra shaker to the subwoofer signal, the main thing that it really brings back is the sound of your engine, and that feel like your engine is rumbling the car as well. Beautiful effect. So I've got a subwoofer behind me and a subwoofer in front of me, plus that homemade shaker running in series through that subwoofer channel. And somehow my sound system seems to be able to handle all of that. Because you do lose impedance as you run. I think it is impedance. You lose something anyway, resistance or something, as you start to run more and more speakers in series on one channel. But I get enough. It's got enough headroom in the system that I'm happy with all the bass that it makes through the subs and the vibrations that it makes through the chair subs. Very minimal sacrifice on the sound end to gain a huge advantage in the tactile feeling through the rig. So there is still a very, very slight feeling of like graininess or digital. Like, it doesn't feel like it, it sounds like it. But one thing about the Alpha is it's got all the frequencies that the CSL-DD had, plus some extra ones on top. And it's those extra little light things that you're like, oh wow, there's actually detail in the road there. Like when you come from the CSL-DD to the Alpha, it's like, wow, there's so much detail. As you start to become tuned into the wheelbase, you start to notice that those little details are what actually feel almost a little artificial sometimes. And it seems like what Fanatec have decided to do is simply cut those off and not give them to you at all. But at least with the Simagic Alpha, you have the choice. And you can still get it basically to feel like a rubber mallet tapping lightly rather than a digital feeling. They've done a really good job, I think, at extracting the most that they can out of this motor. This is the 5-pole low inertia motor, right? And they're using the same sort of marketing now, only they've got an even lower inertia shaft. Like, I think they just got a smaller motor to be honest. And so lower inertia shaft and no cogging. But this doesn't really have cogging. It does have torque ripple, but you don't feel it through the wheel. You feel it through the shaft when you take the wheel off and rotate the shaft without the wheel on. But it's not a problem. Like, you don't notice it in racing. Mind you, I haven't experienced the Evo bases to compare the difference. But I don't think I would want to go from 15 Nm Alpha to a 12 Nm Evo. I think that the Evo Pro 18 Nm base probably has about the same peak torque as this would have had they allowed it to just keep doing the 18 that it used to do. But I think what the problem is, InSource used the same motor, right? And they didn't have, now, I don't know, I'm going all over the place here, there's a lot of digressions. But if you watch SimPit's interview with Tyler Wayne talked about how when he was working at Simagic, he knew this guy who was really good at dialing in software on motors. Like, he really thought this guy was really good. And I believe he's probably right. Like, I think that this guy picked this motor out because of its low inertia and 5 poles. It's 5 poles. 5 poles gives you a it gives you a smooth. You know, you can really get a smooth feeling with that. And then you know, they're giving you this motor that can do about 17 or 18 newton meters. That's what this motor actually can do, but it doesn't do that in force feedback. What it actually does is it just gives you that 15 newton meters, which is plenty. But if you hit the bump stop, it'll give you more. It'll give you 18 then, and that's actually really clever, because when you try and go above 15 newton meters with this motor, you really just can't get rid of that robotic digital feeling anymore. And that's something that Will noticed in Boosted Media when he was reviewing the in-source ED5 and ED3, that he could never actually really get the most out of those motors. And I believe that Simagic realised the same thing with this. They realised that the cap is somewhere around the 12 to 15 newton meter mark to get the ultimate feeling out of this motor, even though it might be capable of doing more. And they realised the same thing with Simagic. And Simagic's, you know, somewhere around the 7 to 10 newton meter mark, that motor feels best on the Mini, on the Alpha Mini. But what they've done is they've got a better guy someone who's a bit better at tuning those motors, so they have actually been able to peak it to 10 and just, it's going to be a good 10 newton meter motor. If they'd have allowed you to go to 13 with it, they never would have been able to tune that beautiful feeling that these motors can give you. Get what I'm saying? Because anything over 10, too robotic. So, you know, the older versions of Sim Pro and the older V1 versions of the Alpha Mini, they could give you a good feeling of, you know, that they could give you like 13 newton meters, you know. But at some point, they've capped it to 10, and it's only if you do a bump stop test, because that's all you actually can do until you've got another motor on the other end will come to this thing reading its force feedback resistance and telling you what it's, you know, resisting against this thing. It's really, really hard to test, you know, what your motor is actually doing. The motor itself knows what it's doing. So, you know, that's probably the best way to gauge it now. But if you want to test at home using like a crude mechanical method, you can really only test it at the bump stops. And the way you test it is actually a pretty flawless method. It works. It's pure mathematics. You're simply gauging the amount of weight in kilograms of resistance and the amount of distance, like in centimeters, from the center point to the axis. Using, you know, a little bit of simple math, you work out that works out to, you know, newton meter torque with the level of turning force. So they've been able to prove that this motor, Dan Suzuki, a couple other guys too actually, have been able to prove that this motor does do 18 newton meters at the bump stop. But what I'm telling you is that's the only place it doesn't. It doesn't do it in the force feedback. So anyone who's kind of getting this idea that, oh, these things really do 18, no, they don't. They do 15 newton meters, and that's why they've capped it there in the software. But 15 is a lot. Like, it's plenty. I don't feel like I need more power until I can get a stronger grip, maybe. But I wouldn't want less, is the point. And I bet you that with Evo Pro, the true 18 newton meter, you know, like the software's telling me to do 18 newton meters, not 15. I bet you that feels stronger than this Alpha by 3 newton meters. Not a huge deal. By about the same amount as what a G29 can do, but it's still something. I've got to say, most people have been pretty good on the road. I haven't had any trouble with slow cars trying to hold me up. Sometimes you get that, but you know, you don't want to try and ruin their lap either. Like, you know, you don't want to get this idea that you own the road because you're in the faster car. You've got to be courteous to them, and hopefully they'll be courteous to you. Yeah, I'm probably not getting the fastest times by any means, you know. But that's not in the fastest car, and I don't know the car that well either, you know. It's not my go-to. But I must admit, it's a pretty good car. Like, it's pretty reliable. It does what you want. It goes where you want. And it doesn't have, like, you know, this overly unforgiving oversteer that you get from a lot of other cars. Of course, I could set it up, the suspension differently, probably do a cheat to make it like that, although I don't know much about it. I do also have traction control though. So in that regard, to answer Steve's question about assist, I am using assist in this car. In that regard, I'm using ABS and TC, yes. But let's say a car doesn't have those in-car assists, then no, I'm not using any. I'm not using any built-in like gain filter assist, like to help my steering, braking, or anything like that. So the reason I got into this was actually because I have a manual V8 myself. It's a VF SS LS3, 6-speed manual with over 400 horsepower. It's a fun car. And I lost my license going a bit too quick in it. And I decided that it was time to start taking like the recreational side of driving over to the sim world. So I went and got a G21. Then I went and got a CSL DD. Then I went and upgraded that to the 8mm boost pack, but I bought it from AliExpress with like a cheap version. Ran 8 Newton meters for a while, and then got this 15 Newton meter wheelbase. And yeah, been pretty happy ever since. So. I realised I haven't had any views, but the reason I'm talking to nobody right now is I'm going to post this up to my channel. So this is really just a video, and it's going to go up to my channel so that Steven can have a look at my driving to see my driving. So, and I'm hoping this will give a good enough view. I haven't got the overhead cam because I've got the other cam here at the shifter. Because I also want this to be a display of the shifter and maybe the hub too, but obviously I'm not using the hub right now, I'm using the GT Neo. So much detail through this wheel in a car like this. It really is a great wheel, 300mm. And like, because of the butterfly, like 300's not too big, and because of the butterfly, you know, like, you don't feel like you need another F1 wheel either or something like that when you jump into an open wheel. And like, not on this base. Maybe on a weaker wheelbase, like on the Alpha Mini, I think you probably would want an F1 size wheel. But at least for me, for my puny body, I don't need more than 15 meters. So. Like when I drive, say, like a prototype or an LM, a Le Mans car, or got an older one maybe, or something that I expect that would probably peak at around, something higher than 12, 13 Newton meters, 10, whatever. I'll run full 15. I'll let it go to 15. Like on an open wheeler, I'll let it go to 15. And man, it's full on. It really is full on. Like it's tiring, and So I just don't feel like I need more. Like, and the rig, I got this cheap little rig, right? This Artiss thing from eBay. Oh, that's good. And it couldn't even handle the assist of the rig, really. Like, it could handle it, but it couldn't stop this. It couldn't stop this like vertical bobbing from happening through the wheel deck. But I modified the rig so that it can't do that. It's really rigid. So I basically got the rigidity of an aluminium profile rig here. Like, I really do. I'm not saying that. But it's still like, anytime you want to modify it, you know, get ready to grab out a drill. But I haven't had to drill any holes through this rig to do that mod. So all the strengthening mod that I did, like where I've got, you know, these vertical brackets, like vertical supports and brackets and stuff, and bars running under the wheel deck that you can see in my last live, none of that required any modification to the rig. All the holes are already there. You do have to drill holes in the pieces of metal that you're adding, you know, to line up with those holes. But you don't need to drill any holes in the rig. So to do that modification, just to make this rig really rigid, doesn't require any voiding of any warranty or anything. So that's something to keep in mind. But when I added base shakers to the rig, or even when I've added this extra plate to the shifter mount, that's when I've drilled the holes into the rig. So I have drilled holes into this rig now, but only because, you know, I've got so far in with it that I'm, you know, and I've got it good enough to handle 15 Newton meters. You know, it's like I just don't see the point in trying to buy a different rig. I found ways to make the seat more comfortable. One mod that I've done recently that I haven't really shown is I added extra foam to the inside of the seat. So I noticed there was this like bar that was starting to dig into my back on this seat, you know, now that I've got the stronger brakes. So I opened it up and I found the bar, and it's only like that thick. It's like, no wonder this hurts my back. It like runs right across and digs into your spine. So anyway, like the black foam stuff that you get in like any box with electric equipment now, like when you buy your Simsonn pedals, you get these like layers of black foam and stuff, or if you buy a graphics card, you'll get that foam in the box. That foam there's what I use. I just cut it to size and fit it in between like the fake leather that I'm sitting on in that bar, and just added extra padding to like the back of the seat, and it works beautifully. Like it's really improved the seat, man. So that foam works really good for that, just so you know, and that's free. There's a little hard rubbish tip for any of you know, those sort of people that, you know, just want to improve their rig with crap around the house. That would really work. That was a great improvement to this. And then, you know, I've got my own like little lumbar support thing that I made ages ago for like folding a memory foam pillow in half, and it just happened to make like the perfect shape on the pillow. So I've had that sitting there for ages too. So, you know, I've always found ways to like make the seat work. I've got a brace behind it so it's sturdy and doesn't move. So there's no like, seat doesn't move when you hit like a heavy brake, and just all those little things that like really change the driving experience in this rig. I've got to say, like, out of the box, you know, someone like, I'm 40 years old, so you might find, you know, 20, you'll find sitting on this chair. But for me, I did not find it very comfortable. So I found ways to make it just better, you know. And bracing the back of the chair, just that little thing. I had no idea how inconsistent I was with my braking, until I did that. Like that's yeah. You can have a little bit of flex in your pedal tray, as long as it's the same amount as every time you press the brake. Like, it doesn't matter if that moves a little bit, because mine does. But the seat, you really want that to be firm and not move. That's something I've really found by making mine not move. And now I finally see why, you know, that's something that reviewers who have tried the best of those kinds of things have, come to that conclusion. So anyway, that's 3 good laps of that. What did I end up with? A 6:33. That's not too bad for this car. So let's jump out. See what manual. I can't even see it because I've got this stupid chat panel here for no reason. Let me just see if I can find a. I don't really like that, but I could do some drifting. Now I want to show you the shifter. I'll drive this. I'll do it. Ah, damn it! I'm too late. Yeah, I'm too late. Let's have a look at something else then. Ah, what about this? Oh, that's a. Let's do this. Let's do that. Yo. I'm gonna go with that. 320. Nice. Solid connection. Just gonna step on it when I get out the rig after. Don't know why the screen keeps lighting up. It's like the battery just wants to get used. I don't know why it does all that. Just gonna double check that. All the cameras are good. Yeah, cool. We're going with 9 Newton meters here, which is about 73%. So, whereas the last car was 77, or at least out the pits it was, whether or not that modified itself at all. So the app that I'm using is called FFB Clip, and that enables you to just pick like a torque target. But I don't know if it's better, to be honest. It's something that I had there back when I had a G29 and I've just kept it. Well, I might have got it when I had the CSLDD 5mm actually. And I've just kept it because it doesn't hurt, but let's say I just wanted 70. Whoa, what's that bit? Yeah, look, GPU driver. What's happening? I don't want to see it. Stupid thing. Let me just make sure that this is all working. Yeah, NVIDIA drivers, man. It's just NVIDIA drivers. That's a typical NVIDIA experience. And now my wheelbase is going fucking retarded off its head. That's my wheelbase, I think. Or is it my base shakers? Yeah, base shakers, sorry. Just going off their fucking head because NVIDIA. Thanks, NVIDIA. I'm running an RTX 4080 that they made work perfect until the day that they decided they were going to release the worst ever architecture ever known for man in the 50 series and fuck everything up for every GPU before it and not even get the fucking 50 series right. Piece of shit. And somehow I've still got it in my head that I might save up for a 60 series. I'm just great. I'm just over it, man. I gave up on even looking at GPUs. I used to watch all latest GPU stuff, and I used to be enthusiastic about it. But they killed it, man. Even now, they still haven't released the bloody 24 gig 5080. It's just like they just don't want you to enjoy buying their products. Like you can't buy 5090 without regrets. You just can't. At some point, you're gonna be like, I can't believe I did this. I spent this much money on it, man. I've never. Oh, and I've got like. See, the thing is, a lot of people that get a 5090 just gonna be like, I'm never doing this again. Like I've experienced it, and I'm glad I did, but I'm never doing it again. That's kind of what I was like when I got the 7800X 3D, but not with those regrets because it wasn't an expensive part. It wasn't like a cheap part, but it was well priced. But it still left me with this feeling of like I'm definitely just getting a 10700X next time. I'm not. There's no way in hell I'm getting an X3D CPU. They're just not that. It's just not that big a deal. It's a huge waste of money. Like you just like, and the thing is I'm sure right now I'm having better 1% loads than I would have if I just got a 700X, you know. But I wouldn't know any better either way. I'm playing a Seto cores. I find if I'm not playing this 90% of the time, I'm playing War Thunder the other 10% of the time. And for neither of them do I need this CPU or this GPU. I don't need it. Like it's more than I need, and then I sort of think, well, why would I upgrade? Like, you know, until I really do find myself playing a game that demands more than what these products can do. So they just killed it, man. Like, all the games that do demand more GPU power, it doesn't matter if you've got a 4080 or a 5090, because if you can't run it good on a 4080, then the problem isn't the GPU anymore. It's the software. And that's why you're still getting 60 FPS on the fucking 5090. Ridiculous, man. Anyway, I've got to get out of the negative rants. Bit of heel and toe here and there. So I got the pedal thing there, so because I can't film my pedals, but what I can do is give you that fucking thing up there on the screen that just gives you an idea of what I'm doing. So what you'll find with the shifter is it has this like tactile gradual shift in the gear that's very similar to a real car. Instead of just being one point of resistance that you overcome, it's like this texture. They do a really good job of it. For cheap, it's cheap too. Like it's only about double the price of the cheap AliExpress shifter, right? So, you know, double the price, but it is double the shifter. Plus the fact that you can switch it over to sequential, and then it even operates as sequential better than the cheap sequential. You're kind of like, well, yeah, now I get it. It literally isn't worth as much in dollars as, you know, a cheap sequential and a cheap HPAT together anyway. So if you really do only have room for one shifter on your rig, then I think this GX100 is an excellent like option for the budget sim rig. And if you're only going to drive, like, let's say you only drive one HPAT car every now and then, if you do want an authentic, fairly high-end feel, I feel like this is the shifter for you. As good as the Odor shifter was, because the Odor shifter was like a refined version of the eBay AliExpress shifter that it had like a few little things in it to sound deadener, make the shift feel nicer, a bit nicer. It had Hall effect sensors instead of micro switches, and then yeah, just a little bit of a nicer finish overall too. But it was still overall the same idea, and you know, you had a HPAT gates at the top, and you had like I don't know what you'd call it, but almost like a door catch, similar to a door catch like mechanism. On the spring, it's like you have these two rollers that sort of like have to get pushed open and out the way to allow just this pull through. So it's really simple and brilliant design, like just where it operated on like a gimbal. But this is even better. Like both in the way that they achieve the tactile feel and just yeah, its overall feeling and use. You know? You misshift less with it because of that gradual like feeling into gear. Like you're more like your timing with your gear changes and clutch kicks are just going to come more naturally, and you're going to find you just don't misshift much. You just don't like, you know. So that it's really good that way too. And I'm not saying I won't ever misshift, though. I still do. The odd misshift's going to happen, but. We're getting a very nice, realistic feel through the wheelbase. Beautiful tactiles through the base shakers into the seat. See the pan feels there. The front of the car feels there, you know, as well, because you're feeling that down the front. Like there's all these base shakers at the front and the haptics on the wheel deck and the pedals. I mean the pedal plate and the pedals. So there's just all these like little haptics working together to try and make the car feel connected on all levels. So it feels like you've got back wheels, front wheels, steering column, and but it's all connected. And it takes, I'm not joking, I've taken ages like tuning it all up to get it to feel like that, but it hasn't been a problem. I don't mind doing it. I'd rather get it, like it's been a bit of a hobby of mine to get this to feel as satisfying as it might feel when I used to go for a drive in the Adelaide Hills, because, you know, yeah, we've got the Adelaide Hills right near me, and they're beautiful. It's beautiful to go driving through them. It's amazing to drive through, but it's dangerous. You know, so 40 years old, 2 kids, wife, starting to think a little bit like, you know, maybe it isn't worth the risk. And the thing is, it's even more of a tragedy when a young fella dies. You know? That's way more of a tragedy. So I encourage young guys to get into sim racing, and use this as their outlet, because people like expecting you to just not enjoy motorsports. It's not fair. That's probably not going to happen. And what you're probably going to do, is, if it's really in your heart, is you're going to go and do something stupid like burnouts, you know, on the streets and stuff. Get into sim racing. It will tickle that itch for you. Now, fair enough, there's no G-forces or anything like that. But yeah, well, here we go. See if we can get out of it. I didn't think we would, I'm not lying. Alright, take it easy. So we've gone up to 74%, about the same as where we were. Seems to think that's about right. And by the way, I didn't really notice that difference, to be honest. Yeah, I didn't really notice that difference. Like, I mean, you wouldn't, I guess, 73, 74, what would you? Yeah, I sort of figure, like, on hard slicks, I reckon 9 is about right for this stuff. So if you're driving something like this, and this is going to be what you predominantly drive, you know, you want to use a H pattern shifter, you know, shit like that. I do honestly think, then, yeah, this may be about the right torque range for you. So something like a Moser R9, or probably the, I would actually suggest the I would suggest the looking at that Logitech RS50. If you think 8 might be alright, because I think it's 8 holding. I think it can hold 8, so it probably feels about the same as the Moser R9 V3 in terms of. Although, yeah, I'm not a. The True Force may give it an edge too, you know. So, but if you're playing like this, it won't matter. You know, that won't really matter. So, in that case, you may be better off going the Moser R9 because of the quick release is better, and that is just, it really is something to factor in. If you want to get good aftermarket quick releases, my suggestion is AliExpress, and get the ANNX brand, or it'll look like it just says ANX, but it's like they put 2 N's together in their logo. And you'll know it's them because they have the beautiful anodized aluminium, but they'll have like 2 grooves cut out in them that like look like chrome, you know, grooves that are sort of cut out in the anodizing, and that'll give you a nice, you know, indication as to, yeah, that's the ones. They come with a spare. Here's the thing that's really good about it: if you've got a Simagic base, they come with a spare wheel hub and a spare PCB as well. So even if you just want to replace that, but you can actually replace like that. The wheel hub bolt pattern on that actually fits the Alpha, whereas most of them don't. They're just a little bit too big. They look like they would, but they don't. Like the ones that I've got on my wall, they look close to like they fit, but they actually don't. So yeah, 2 hubs that can't be used on the Alpha, and I've got a spare hub that can now, and then I've got a spare PCB that can replace this PCB in here if this ever dies, which they actually can die. It's happened to a couple of people. It's not common. And then, you know, I can buy quick releases for this thing for cheap ads, you know, and they're really good like that. So the ANNX one, it pairs up a 12 o'clock, like the GT Neo with its, you know, factory quick release with no play whatsoever, just a nice ting, just beautiful pairing. Whereas this like slightly cheaper one is actually pretty good, by the way. I've actually got to, what I've got to do with this is I've got to I've got to put it on about 11 o'clock and then turn it to lock it in, and then it's as tight and solid as the others. But it's probably because something's like getting mashed in there, and that's taking away a tolerance that is there. So you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if it's really ideal, but and it's probably helping to scratch up the base even quicker. But at the same time, you know, those scratches are occurring either way. Like just by taking off the GT Neo and putting that back on, they're occurring. Because and it could just be because I've got a really tight tolerance hub. But I don't mind that. I'd rather get like a few scratches of black paint than have slack in my quick releases. So with all of my wheels, I'm able to put them on, and to the point where they feel like they're literally bolted to the hub. Like as though I haven't even got a quick release. I just bolted them to the hub, like you can with the canvas bases. And that's something to keep into consideration too. So some wheelbases actually have the 70mm PCD bolt pattern on the wheelbase hub, which allows you to bolt a wheel straight to the wheelbase without any quick release. And if you're only ever going to use one wheel, that will give you the most superior connection you can get out of any quick play. I mean, any quick release with zero play though is about the same. That's what I'm trying to say. But you know, you're also removing a big chunk of weight from the shaft. You know, even a small shaft extension is probably lighter than a quick release. If you want to add that distance back in and bring the wheel closer, you can probably just get a 50mm shaft extension instead of the quick release. Bolt it all up, like, and just leave it bolted, and then you've just got, like, you know, the ideal distance in the wheelbase, but you've still got the you know, all the benefits of zero play. So you could do that on a Canis W or DW15, for example. You can do that. Not a bad habit of resting my foot on the clutch a bit. So I've got a dead zone there. I guess I'm just saying that because I noticed I was doing it. Alright, let's do a bit of a drift car, hopefully. So I don't have heaps more time. I'm going to go soon, so I'll do a couple in this, and then yeah, like I won't be using the shifter as much, but I'll show you that you can at least go between, you know, second and third quite quickly and easily using it, you know, in shifting scenarios. So, and it works good for that. I won't probably get time to show. That's weird. See, that's all rock solid. Never noticed it though. myself more room on the arse. What the hell? I don't blame myself for that, but I thought I had a car in front of me for a sec there, and then it just wasn't, and I don't know if I saw the car disappear or not, and it kind of distracted the fuck out of me. I still don't know what happened, to be honest. My eyes were playing tricks on me and stuff. Why do every fucking car, like every car, lined up perfectly with an oncoming car? Like, fuck off, man. Like time it better. The traffic loading in this fucking server at the moment is ridiculous. Need to warm up these tyres. Oh, freaking fuck. It's not doing your job as a tyre. Realised I've got another flame on me. Ferrari. Holding up the fucking Ferrari. Oh man. Come on. See what I mean? By the time I get up to the car, it's like passing another car. It's like the traffic's like just seems to be synced that way by the time I get up to it. So close. of assist that I use. I don't know how to show that, but I think I do. I'll have to have a look. Oh, this has ABS though. Oh, my shoulder's getting a bit sore. I've got to go soon, so I might leave it at that. Let me just try this here. Just not. I wanted to disable it. There we go. So this is my settings for force feedback. Just quickly, if you wanted to see that. And yeah, Pro. There we go. So I drive on Pro. I don't use any like assists or anything. And then online, I believe that's all up to the server, I think. So yeah, the amount of damage and stuff. But like when I drive online, like single, I have damage on. So I can, wreck this car, for example, if I crash it. So that's how I do it. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll post this up. And then, yeah, you can have a look at this, Steve, in your own time, and anybody else.